Good evening and welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, August 14. It is currently, is this my phone? It is currently 7:03 in the evening. Voting members to my right, we have the Vice Chair, Councilor Vivian Marmol. To my left, we have Councilor of District B, Wendy Luzon. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may either attend here in the City Council chamber or use any of our social media accounts. Before we rise for the pledge, I was informed that a former Lawrence High teacher recently passed, Mrs. Mejia. So if you can please join me for a moment of silence and to honor Mrs. Mejia. And now in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight, we do not have the council president here with us. Although he is a member of the Budget and Finance Committee, he is currently the interim mayor, so he cannot vote tonight. All right, councilors, we do have minutes to approve from our meeting from July 30th, 2024. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made to approve. Is there seconded by Councilor Luzon? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. All right, we're going right into new business. The first item is item 387-24, the authorization to expend grant funds in the amount of $11,389.70 for the fiscal year 24 SAFE and/or Senior SAFE grant brought to us by our Fire Chief Mariotti. However, Ms. Chief Mariotti is not here, so we have Deputy Nato here for him. Deputy, is there anything that you would like to say regarding this? Oh, could you? Just in case.
Good evening, councils.
Good evening. Can you just introduce yourself for?
Deputy Chief Matt Nato, Lawrence Fire Department, here on behalf of Lawrence Fire Department. Chief Moriarty had a family emergency he had to attend to, so.
Thank you. Councilors, I do see here from the email that Chief Moriarty sent to our clerk on July 16th, this grant will be used to teach children and older adults the two high-risk groups of fire safety, basically safety in their home when cooking and if they fall and et cetera. So this is what this grant's going to be used for. Do you have any questions or comments for our deputy? Deputy, is this the first time we're receiving this grant, or have you guys?
Councilor, we receive this grant every year.
Every year?
So it's a great thing for our community and for our firefighters.
Okay. Councilor, Vice Chair Marmol.
Does this grant entail that, because I see children, so do you guys visit each school and have some sort of like educational session regarding fire safety?
Yeah, so this is geared more for second graders, and it teaches them the dangers of fires and how to be safe. We do class presentations, and then we also there was a smokehouse for the Playstead and the Common, and it's great to reach out to these kids and work with them and teach them safety. So.
And how does it work for these teaching sessions for adults?
So as far as adults, it's a little different. We teach them not just fire safety, but we teach them like trip and fall, staying near your food while you're cooking and stuff like that. And also we just be safe, stay away from fire and stuff like that. So. It's just a different teaching for.
But do you guys hold events? Like, how is it an informational session, or do you guys hold like an event at the library where you're inviting
Yep.
adults? Like, what
Yep.
does
I'm not sure, I can get back to you, that Counselor, but as far as, I'm more of the fire suppression, I'm not into fire prevention side of it.
Okay.
And so, but we reach out and we do whatever anybody, counselors want us to come to their neighborhood, that's what we do, and we work with the community, the community.
They attend neighborhood meetings.
Awesome. What was that?
That they attend neighborhood meetings.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve item number 38724, authorizing the expenditure grant funds in the amount of $11,389.70 for fiscal year '24 Safe and/or Senior Safe Grant.
Motion to send
Second.
as a favorable recommendation.
Oh, yes.
The motion has been made, properly seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counselor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you so much. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys Tuesday. I don't think, Deputy, you guys don't have any other,
No, I don't.
no? Okay, perfect. All right, moving on. Item 388-24, annual fire service charges / water and sewer connection fees, brought to us by Commissioner William Hale. Mr. Commissioner Hale, welcome back.
Good evening, councilors, thank you.
And the floor is yours.
So I made an amendment to our fees and schedules for a couple of things, and I have to give you a new version that I have right now, because I added them. So this attachment 1 is, it's part of our rules and regulations right now. So if you were to go on the city website, there's a PDF you click and it gives you a list of all our fees. But highlighted in red are the changes that I'm proposing to make. So this is a draft right here.
What is a fog permit?
So the fog permit is fats, oils, and grease permit.
Okay.
The water and sewer department reviews those because that has an impact with grease going into the sewer. So primarily for new restaurants or existing restaurants, every year they fill out a fog permit. We recently just got those into Citizen Serve, so they're all gonna be online, but we do have to review them and then sign off on them.
Okay.
So since it went in Citizen Serve, I asked the director of ISD that is there a fee associated with the fog permit? There was never one implemented. So I
Okay.
thought it would be a good thing to just get it in writing, because we did have something similar, but I want it to be clear for the fog permit itself.
And okay, so the fog permit prior, we have never charged a fee for the application. Now you're proposing a $35 fee. Above the fog permit, I'm seeing cross-connection survey that you're proposing a $40 fee. Was there a fee associated before,
Yeah, so,
or?
we used to charge $25 for that,
Okay,
but when we do a survey, it typically takes an hour at least, depending on the size of the building. So I wanted to bring it up with our current hourly rate of $40 per hour that we charge, which is very reasonable.
can you briefly describe what is a cross-connection survey for those
Sure.
that don't know, like me?
So we would enter the building with the owner's permission, and we would start at the water meter, and it's anything after the meter that is connected onto the water line. So typically, like in a hospital, they have dialysis machines, different type of medical equipment that has a direct attachment to the water line. If there's a drop in pressure in our system, there's a chance that it could back siphon into the system, so it'd be a cross connection. So we just make sure that every connection like that is protected or eliminated if possible.
Okay. And then we have here hydrant permit fee. We're proposing $200. What was the fee previously or
Yeah, so we were
currently?
charging $40 before, and then it would be plus metered usage. It's very low. It takes a lot of time to coordinate that. The meters are very expensive. We have to document everything. So we think it's best. Some people keep the meters for a long duration of time, upwards of 6 months at a time for a construction project. So we think it's reasonable to charge $200, only because when we get the meter back, there's really not a lot of usage on it, so we don't, get money. It's like, kind of like we're working for free. So a lot of people just charge a flat fee, and then the water is very cheap, so that would just be additional on there.
So what is, okay, let me go then so the other counselors can, all right, so the next one is meter or backflow preventer deposit, which here says refundable, and the fee is $2,200 per device.
Correct. So we provide like a 3-inch water meter and a backflow device. It hooks up to a fire hydrant. That's for the construction. We typically had a deposit of $1,500, but with the prices of everything going up, you couldn't buy one for $1,500 anymore, so that's just a security deposit. In case it does go missing, then we can repurchase that item.
Okay, and then we have the water and sewer service application fee for $80 per application. So what
Yes.
is it now?
So currently, we have 0 application fee.
Okay,
So across the board, in a lot of water departments, they do have a fee. Again, it's a lot of time when they submit blueprints of, what they're gonna build, propose, and we have to review everything, check the size of the water mains. We also go out and mark water mains for the construction projects. So there's a lot of time and effort spent on this. So I think that's very reasonable too.
okay. And now we have, and I have purposely left these two for last because they're on a different attachment. Water/sewer connection fee and the annual fire service fee. Can you walk
Sure.
us through those two, please?
Sure, so dating back to around 2014 and prior to that, there was.
Wait, I'm sorry, is this what we're looking at?
Yes, we can look at that chart.
Okay.
So it says proposed water and sewer connection fees.
Yep,
So I'd just say from 2014 until now is an easier way to better to describe it. So we were charging $200 per inch diameter. So if you were to build a house and you had a 1-inch copper line coming into your house, you would pay $200 to connect to the water main, which is extremely low. So as the diameter of the pipe increases, so it'll be typically 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, it depends on if it's an industrial building. It would just be $200 per inch diameter, and you times it by that. So we wanted to bring it up, since it's been 10 years since it's been implemented. And we looked at a lot of different towns and communities, and it makes sense to not even be able to tap the water main for less than $1,000. Because we've spent, when I looked at Munis and we looked at like all the contracts that we've invested in the water system alone, it was like $22 million. So for somebody to come in with a brand-new house after all the community has paid their water bills for 15 years, and they're paying the debt service for all these construction projects, it makes sense to have a fee that's at least $1,000 to get into the system that everybody else has paid for.
okay.
And so then as it goes up, it'll be basically $400 per inch diameter, but it just, as you can see, it goes $1,200 for the 1.5 inch, 2 inches $1,400, 4 inch $1,600, and then all the way up to a 12-inch main at $4,800.
Counselors, do you have any questions or comments for Commissioner Hale?
Yes,
Counselor Lugo.
Madam Chair. I'm going to take you back to the FOD permit application fee. What is the amount of time that you guys spend reviewing this application? Because there's no visit from the fire department to restaurants to double check.
Realistically, so about 90% of them come back filled out incorrectly. So we have to track down the owner of the business, and we either drive out to the restaurant and have them fix it, or I personally have taken pictures of the tag on the fogs, on the grease trap itself to get the information.
But it happened because it's a new application, and most of the owners were not familiar with basically what you were asking. Because I remember.
It's not a new application.
Well, for how long we have the application? For how long?
I would say at least over 10 years.
I saw it 2 years ago, and I'm a restaurant owner. So I don't know what you were doing, and it was not at the fire department. It was part of the inspectional services.
Correct.
And it was a very, not a friendly application. So if it doesn't involve, well, you said that you guys actually go to the restaurants to double check, and I believe there is also lack of the restaurant owners being familiar with the application. So I'm trying to make a case here, because you guys didn't charge, how much did you charge before?
$0.
Yeah, because I don't remember paying, thank you. So why increasing that from $0 to $35? We already have, and I'm speaking on behalf of all the restaurant owners, we already have a lot of permits that we have to pay, and this one specifically is one of your most unfriendly application that actually needs to be reviewed.
Okay, so, just so you can, to get a
Which one is
better
this
idea of what's involved with it, so restaurants that don't properly take care of their grease, it's a huge problem in the city. So on Common Street, for instance, we popped a manhole, the whole thing is filled with grease. So this is very crucial, the whole process of documentation. So the inspectional services can walk into a restaurant at any time and ask for, where they're disposing of their grease, where the food trucks are disposing of their grease. It costs a lot of money for the sewer department to go and unblock these lines of grease.
Yeah, and I understand, I'm trying to make my case here, and I'm very familiar on how that work. But not charging anything to start charging $35, it seems like it's not a lot of money, but it's significant especially for the ones that are starting, for the new entrepreneurs. And from my own experience and knowing how the process, because I, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm familiar with the application. So from going from $0 to $35, it's concerning. And my other question, I think you answered, but just to make sure for the people that are watching. So you compare these prices to other cities. Are those cities similar to the one we live in?
Yeah, they're all in the packet here, so we have multiple different cities.
I see it here. We have Haverhill, Lowell, Tewksbury, Andover, Methuen. I think that's it.
But what I
Correct?
will caution you with is when you compare to other different towns, those other towns may have not invested $100 million in their system. So that's where the debt service comes into play, and that's why we have to, the rates are the way that they are. So that's the proposal. So, some towns may have, lower rates, but they might not have as great of a fire suppression system in the city or sewer system.
So just to understand what you're, so the city invested in new equipment?
I'm saying in general overall, not, if you're asking specifically for the fog permit.
Yeah, well, no,
I'm
in
not sure
general,
about benchmarking for that, I can look into it. This was just a proposal.
no,
of
yeah,
$35.
I'm sorry, the FOG permit application, it's just an application. But I'm asking, did the city invested in for the water department? Are we raising the prices because we spend a lot of money in new equipment?
Not in equipment, so the
the
entry
service.
fees to the system, if you want to tie
Yeah.
in the water and sewer line,
Thank you.
you're tying into $100 million of assets that we have that customers have already paid for in their water rates.
Well, so we invested in a new system.
Correct.
Correct, okay. I understand, and we appreciate all that you do, but also we have in front of us applications fees that are going to be, the people are going to be spending more, and it's concerning, but I do understand your position.
So what I will say is, if these fees do not get increased, it basically just gets passed out to the customer. So these are what we call like costs, fixed costs. These are always going to be there. If these rates don't go up, our costs are going up, we're going to have to add it into the water bill. into the rates.
Which then will
Will affect all
a domino
customers.
effect, like the cost of a meal, and, you know, they have to make up whatever, yep.
Correct. So these are costs, you know, that a contractor would pay to tie in the new water and sewer services for the house.
But
or
also-
a developer.
Sorry, finish your point, I'm sorry, I interrupted
No,
you.
it's okay, go ahead.
But also people that are planning to build new houses, well, that we don't have a lot of land, but thank you for explaining that, so that makes things more clear. But I also, going back to the FOG application permit, I don't see the need to increase something from $0 to $35. And it might not see a lot of money, but it makes a difference.
So personally, I agree with, trying to lower the prices as much as possible, but the thing is when you have a $0 application fee, nobody takes it serious. They're just like, oh, it's a piece of paper, they write down a couple of things, they pass it in. It's a waste of my time, it's a waste of the department's time to be calling and tracking down these incomplete applications. So we do the residents a favor by going out there, or the restaurant owners, to track them down and get the information. I mean, if it's incomplete, we can't do anything with it.
Through you, Madam Chair. So I'm assuming that now, after filing the application, members of the water department are going to go and double check the restaurant. So that's why you are requesting the increase. I still think that it is an increase, an unnecessary increase, but I understand your point of view.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments? So quickly, I do want to say I am not a restaurant owner. I know my colleague is, but I'm going to have to slightly disagree with my colleague, because what I'm hearing is we have owners that are not appropriately disposing grease that's costing the city lots of money, not taking applications seriously. It only takes a few group of people to ruin something for the overall group of people and business owners. I mean, it's a perfect example is trash, right? You don't follow the rules, you get a citation. You're going to make sure to follow the rules because you don't want another citation. So it's kind of like the same thing. So I'm hoping that this will help, but we will see down the line. We don't know until we try it. And is this something, like, say if it's not working out, is this something that you can come back and be like, well, we want to change it back to 0 or lower, or whatever the case may be? Is this changeable?
I mean, I wouldn't change, once we go to a fee, I wouldn't want to change it back to 0. I mean, it's like, it's just the time and the effort.
But
It's
is-
not to punish anybody,
Right,
but it's
right.
just to show that this is a serious permit that we're giving out here. We need time to review this, we need so it goes by the size of the tank, how many slop sinks you have, there's a lot to it. So it's not just like something, sign your name and, oh yeah, they're good to go. Like, we really need to look into it to prevent these grease blockages and make the sewer, get to GLSD.
But I'm saying, is that an option? Do you have that as an option? Worst case scenario, best case, whatever, whichever, not whatever, but whichever,
I mean, we
is there?
can think about it. I mean, that's not really what, the fog permit is not my, like.
No,
main
I
thing.
know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I'm just thinking about all
So if
options,
that's
because you
gonna
never
hang
know.
us up, I'd like to table just the fog, and then we can move on. But the real serious part is the water and sewer connection.
The water, yep,
Madam Chair.
awesome.
Uh,
I am going to entertain a motion on this item.
Can I just briefly say one thing? I'm sorry. Through you, Madam Chair. On the fire services, I just want to make this very clear. So what I'm trying to do here is, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. So for a residential home, if they remodeled it, some of the duplexes have like a small fire service. They have a 1-inch line. We're actually reducing the amount that they pay by $20. And what it does is, by using this American Waterworks, in your attachment, you have an American Waterworks flow chart.
Yep,
So a factor based on 1, I just want this for the record so you understand. So a 1-inch pipe you would think if you had a 2-inch pipe, it would be double the capacity, but it's actually more. So if you look at the thing, at the chart, it's 3.2 times more. So as the pipe gets bigger, it literally almost triples the amount of water that can flow through it. So when you get to these industrial-sized buildings that have like 8 or 10-inch pipes, the amount of flow is staggering. I mean, it goes from, you know, a 1-inch being the factor of 1 to a 10-inch pipe being 46 times more water being able to flow through that pipe. So we essentially use the American Water Works capacity flow chart, made the base rate of 55, and then it automatically calculates based on the higher size. So the bigger size pipes for the fire suppression systems, I mean, they have maybe 100 apartments and they have a 10-inch line, they're gonna be paying $2,500 for that line.
Okay.
Versus having it like, you know, all the homeowners paying the same amount based on a per inch diameter, the way it was before. It wasn't fair. So we wanna give the lower size services a break, and the bigger buildings, like commercial buildings, should be paying their fair share.
Counselor Lugo.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just for the record, if what I would like to see, if the city is charging for an application, for a permit, I would like to see the department doing their job. If this application was not working before, because it was, as you explained it, it was just a piece of paper, I'm assuming that now the city, the water department is charging the restaurant owners. I hope that you do the step B. So you actually go to the restaurants and you make sure that they are doing that what they're supposed to be doing. And for the record, most of the restaurant owners that we have in the city, they do their part. If the city is not going out there doing their part, it's the city, it's the city's fault.
Correct,
So I
yeah.
just hope that if you're gonna charge, make sure you do the inspection. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got that? Great, thank you, Counselor. All right, at this point, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to send with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Seconded by the Vice Chair. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much, Commissioner. All right, next we have item 390-24, authorization to expend grant funds in the amount of $2 million brought to us by the Congresswoman Lori Trahan's Community Project Funding. And this will go towards the Mario Lucchese's Memorial Bridge. And we have our great grant writer, Ms. Reyes, here with us. Ms. Reyes, you have the floor.
Good evening, counselors. Thank you for having me. So I believe it's pronounced
Lucchese?
Lucchese.
Lucchese, okay.
Yeah.
Lucchese,
So-
okay.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Elialis Reyes, grant writer.
Which bridge is this?
So it's the one, where Ateneo has the umbrellas now?
Yeah.
Right in front. So right before the Duck Bridge. So
Got it.
you see where there's that
Yep.
black gated, it's kind of like gated now, and unfortunately, folks are walking on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Mario Lucchese Bridge.
Yep. Yep, okay. Let's walk us through this grant a little bit.
So every year, Congresswoman Trahan submits 15 projects. She calls it community project funding. We were one of the 15 projects that she submitted in Congress. They voted for $2 million on this bridge for repairs. And so we're here now asking for us to use the $2 million to repair this particular bridge.
So in particular, just for people watching at home,
Yes.
I'm gonna read the correspondence that you sent to our clerk. So this was going to help with the repair of the deck cracking, the honeycomb, combing concrete scaling, and repair of hollow spouts throughout the length of the bridge. It is also going to help with the repair of scaled crack spalls of the building, bridge railing, back walls, brass walls, and wing walls. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. Am I missing anything? from the repairs? Does that summarizes everything?
So that's the report that we got from the
Okay.
engineers, and that's what they recommended at the time that they did the assessment, the
Okay.
inspection.
All right. And what is the time frame that you project for all of this to be
So
completed?
there are a lot of moving parts. I have here the acting deputy directors who are going to be spearheading the project because there's the Federal Highway Administration involved as well as Mass DOT. So we do have probably 2 years to do this project, but if everyone in the city has seen this bridge and is in dire need of a repair, I mean, all of our bridges are in dire need of repair, but we have funding for this one, so we really should leverage these funds and at least get rid of that, the black gate that it has, so that people are now, I've seen people walking on the street and it terrifies me.
Councilors, any questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Councilor Luzon.
So my understanding is the bridge near Japu
Yeah,
Restaurant.
yes.
Is this a project, you mentioned it's 2 years, time frame 2 years. Is this going to affect traffic? Traffic,
It's possible. It's possible. The engineers would be better to answer that question, but it is a possibility that it will affect traffic. So that's kind of like the trade-off.
Do we have, we have a new engineer, right? City engineer?
We do.
What is the engineer's name?
Theo.
no, that's not,
Theo-
it's very real.
Pardon?
Theo.
No, never mind.
Okay.
Can I, Madam Chair, can I finish mine?
Yeah, yes, sorry.
So just make sure, just to put it out there, that businesses are informed with plenty of time. It's a bad habit of DPW to inform we don't have enough time, and it's not good for the businesses. And if it's going to block traffic completely, hopefully it doesn't, but it will be the effect, not only, well, the few restaurants that we have in the area, in that area. So just make sure that you work very closely with the business owners in the area, and make sure that it doesn't impact them in a negative way. And I know a lot of people have sent concern about that, the specific rigs. As you mentioned, people are using the streets to walk by. And this is a good thing that is happening, but please make sure that you inform, or DPW inform the business owners with plenty of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. That's a valid point.
So one last thing, just want to read for the record and for people watching. One of the terms and conditions of this, of the fund is that the period of availability, we have an obligation to spend these funds up until September 30th of 2027. If any of the fund is not spent by the end of fiscal year 2027, we will lose the remaining of that money. But I think we should be good by then, right?
Thank you, Vice President.
All right, thank you. Councilors, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to send item number 39024 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Luzon. Discussion. Quickly, Ms. Reyes, can you make sure that we have the city engineer, you have the city engineer with you next week, so we can get an answer to how that's going to affect the area, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councilor Luzon.
Oh, no. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. All right.
Did we skip this one? You're all set.
I should just,
Oh,
can
I
I just
did.
stand here?
I
I'm
did.
the
Oh,
next.
okay.
I did skip one.
Yeah.
Commissioner, hey, I'm gonna finish up with Lily, and then I'll go back to you. I had to skip one. All right, we have item, where am I? Item 391-24, authorization to expend grant funds in the amount of $100,000 from the Massachusetts Broadband Institute for Digital Equity Implementation Plan. Ms. Reyes, can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, this is a grant to create a plan for the city of Lawrence. So a company is going to come in and identify the areas that lack in internet services. And so it's going to help us increase our Wi-Fi, our broadband, and is a good opportunity for us to utilize these funds to create that plan so that we can apply for funding to implement the plan.
Councilors, any questions or comments? Seeing none, at this point, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to send item number 39124 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Motion has been made, properly seconded, discussion. Ms. Reyes, we said that it's for a company to come in, do we know who will be coming in?
So the Massachusetts Broadband Institute recommended a couple of agencies, and at the time, the director of OPD selected one of the agencies. I can't remember the name of the agency off the top of my head. I can pull it up if you'd like.
I'm sorry, I'm going blank here. What is OPD again?
Office of Planning and Development.
Okay, thank you. I should know that by now, right? But it's fine. Can you also have that ready for us on Tuesday, who they
The name of
recommended,
the-
the name of the company that they're recommending, please?
I can pull it up really quickly.
Oh,
if
okay,
you'd like.
perfect.
Hold on one second.
Thank you.
This is an example of why we need this, because the Wi-Fi is very slow right now.
You know, I wish I was more organized. I see my colleagues here, their papers are all, and I'm like,
So the company is called CTC Technology and Energy.
CTC, Technology and Energy. And they came from a list of companies that the state recommended?
That Massachusetts Broadband Institute recommended.
Okay. And how were they selected, do you know?
It was a matter of, so I do know that the director at the library is part of the Digital Equity Committee. And so I reached out to folks that had some, prior knowledge on this, and they had recommended out of the list this company, because they have worked with this company
Done
before.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much. We'll see you
Thank you.
Tuesday.
Have a good evening.
All right, going back to Commissioner Hale, right, item 389-24, payment of prior year invoices in the amount of $3,377 with 61 cents for Milton CAT.
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 Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening again.
It's okay.
So these invoices are from fiscal year '22, which I'll take the responsibility for it. So at the time, I was the construction supervisor. I had our backhoe serviced, and we had a wheel assembly ordered, and then some miscellaneous parts, which comes out to the $3,377.61. There was purchase orders made for those, but somehow other orders got paid on those purchase orders, and they lost these invoices. They weren't sent to us, I know that. So for a couple of years, we got away with it, and then they brought them back up and said, hey, by the way, you owe this money. We verified it with the comptroller, we went through Munis, and they were never paid. So we're just here to get approval to pay them for this fiscal year. I've also made sure, I had Milton Cat take my email, the supervisor that does the billings email, make sure we're getting the invoices, because I believe we're the only ones that have, Cat in DPW, so.
Any questions or comments?
question.
Counselor Marmal.
So just for clarity, was it Milton that dropped the ball in not sending the invoice in time, or they sent the invoice and, we just didn't realize that those invoices weren't paid?
It was lack of communication on both ends, so back then, the billing supervisor was in City Hall, I was on Water Street. She received invoices from Milton Cat, had paid inadvertently different invoices, and the originals weren't paid. And then when we asked Milton Cat, do we have any outstanding balances, we have emails that said, no, you don't owe anything. And then now, 2 years later, but we did go back and verify them, and it looks like just an invoice got paid inadvertently on that purchase order.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to send item number 39224 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
382. I mean,
Oh, I'm so
389,
sorry.
389.
Yes, correction. Motion to send item number 38924 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably second in discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you,
All right,
Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right, next item is item 392-24, authorization to expend grant funds in the amount of $8,146.64 for from the Mass DEP Recycling the Dividends Program. And we have our acting deputy director, Rosana de Rosario, here. Director?
Good evening. Rosana del Rosario, Acting Deputy Director for Public Works, 200 Common Street, Lawrence. So this is some extra funding that the Mass DEP found us eligible for back in September of 2023. I applied for the Sustainable Material Recovery Program grant, and I was able to get 14 points that equal to $56,000. So they found us eligible for more funding, and they approved us for $8,146 with 64 cents. This money we plan to use it to continue our hazardous waste program that it's being run at the moment at the DPW yard.
Councilors, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to, no, go ahead. Motion to send item number 39224 to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably second in discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so
Good
much.
evening, councilors.
Good evening. Thank you.
All right, next we have item 393-24, the authorization to expend grant funds in the amount of $139,805 from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health for the Massachusetts in Motion Active Transportation Safe Routes to School and Parks and Open Spaces. Today we have Alicia Miller from our Mayor's Health Task Force. You have the
Good
floor.
evening, councilors.
Good evening. So can you just walk us through this grant?
So this grant, it focuses on, we have the opportunity to focus on broadly on physical activity, physical environment. In previous years, we also did some work around food access. We've decided to, with everything else that's happening in the city, we thought it prudent to move more towards the physical activity, physical environment side of things. And so this year, we're continuing our work with Mass in Motion. We are, and also with Parks and Open Spaces, working with the Rec Department, DPW, the Lawrence Police Department. And new to the stage is active transportation. Looking primarily at the Shawshene River Trail that connects the Breen, the North-South Lawrence East, and the high schools, as well as some ball fields that are along the area, the state pool, and the soccer field at the Cane.
Councilors, any questions or comments? Councilor Marmal.
I think you're gonna ask what the question
Yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
is. It this?
It's pretend, yeah, just go right ahead.
Do you mind going into detail as to regarding, under your line items, specifically 5380 under other purchase services? Do you mind giving detailed information as to what does that mean and what does that entail? In addition to, item number 5580 under miscellaneous supplies.
I have no idea what you're talking about, I'm sorry.
It's part of the budget of the $139,805. So I just wanted to make sense as to,
Okay, I'm not quite
What these
familiar with the
expenses are.
codes. Can you say those again?
Okay. So under expenses, we have salaries, wages, and permanent, which makes sense. And that is in the amount of $77,621. Then we have expense labeled as other purchase services
Oh,
in the amount of $45,000.
right.
And then miscellaneous supplies in the amount of $17,184.
Okay,
So I'm just curious as to the other purchase services and miscellaneous supplies.
so the other purchase services are the contractors that we'll be working with. So we'll be working with the Health and Human Services Department, but more directly the Recreation Department. We do fund the program assistant that they have. She oversees the parks and open space work that they're doing on our behalf. Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, they're gonna be supporting the work that we're doing around active transportation and the work around the Shawshene River Trail. And then, I'm coming, give me 1 second. So it's Groundwork Lawrence. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember all this, I'm sorry. So Groundwork Lawrence is the other contractor that we have, and they do a lot of work in the environmental space, so they're also gonna be guiding the work that we're doing around the Shawshene Road River Trail area. And then what was the other one?
Miscellaneous supplies.
Miscellaneous, so part of what we have to do is community engagement, so anything related to that, communications, flyers, marketing, any giveaways that we have, any food that we do, we do for community meetings, anything like that, that falls under that.
But you do an excellent job with that. I may not be
Thank
in
you.
a communicative role, you're welcome, for a full-time job, but I still have my personal email with the Lawrence Partnership,
Oh, right.
and you are always sending us updates and flyers and all of that, so I know you're definitely on top of that.
More to come.
Madam Chair,
Councilor Luzon.
can we get a list of the places that this is going to be happening for the full council, hopefully?
Can you clarify what you mean?
I'm
by
like,
that?
where you going to be, you mentioned the Shawshene River.
So that's going to be the primary focus
primary,
for the
okay.
active transportation strategy.
What's-
For the safe, and it will sort of come together with what we're doing with Safe Routes to School.
Okay.
For Safe Routes to School, we're focusing primarily on the Partham. We're doing walk audits with them. A few years ago, we got an a small grant from a federal organization, and so we used that to create 23 walking route maps for the 23 elementary and middle schools that we have in the city. We've been promoting those, doing a lot of community engagement, meeting with PTOs, hearing their concerns. We want to activate those maps, and so we've been doing, we don't call them walk audits because it sounds so technical. We call them family walk and talks.
Okay.
And so what we do, we gather at the school in groups, and then we split into smaller groups. And each group takes one of the marked route, and they walk it. So it's the group primarily consists of parents. Sometimes, depending on when we do it, the student leaders might get involved. But we've typically had parents, school administrators, DPW. We've had the police 1 or 2 times. We've had Council President Rodriguez go out with us for the one we did at the Gilmet. So it's a combination of folks, and what it does is it allows the adults to see what we're proposing for kids to walk to school, or where we're proposing for them to walk to school. And we talk about things like safety. And particularly with the kids, it's been a vibrant conversation because, kids know all the shortcuts. And they're gonna tell you why they walked that way instead of the way we want them to walk. And we talk about safety. It's a good way to talk about the things that they're not thinking about, like safety. You need to be seen. You need to be in a space where people have eyes on you, where there's a sidewalk that you can walk safely out of traffic, things like that. So we've been doing that kind of work and really now wanting to get more into the active part of it. So Safe Routes to School have 3 banner days. They have International Walk to School Day, which is in October. They have Winter Walk to School Day, which is in February. And they have Massachusetts Walk to School Day, which is in May. So we want to build activities primarily around that, but if schools would like to have more days of walking or rolling, the Frost is interested in rolling more than they are in walking, in biking more than they are in walking. We will talk with the school administrators and the PTO to see how best to get that going. Because ultimately, we would want to see kids walking or rolling to school every day of the week.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. So if the goal is to have kids walking more to school, I'm assuming you're also working with DPW about,
Yes.
in the school department, making sure that these areas are, during the winter,
So one of the
clear.
awesome things that have happened over time is that the school department has asked us to help support a Safe Routes to School task force. And on that task force sits the capital project person for DPW. We sometimes have the engineer come out with him and other members from the DPW team. We also have someone from the Lawrence Police Department who's connected to school safety come to the meetings, as well as the COO of the Lawrence Public Schools who
Nice.
heads those meetings.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to send item 393-24, authorization to expand grant funds, $139,805. Mass Department of Public Health for mass in motion in active transportation, in safe route to schools and parks and open spaces. Motion to send out with a favorable recommendation to
Motion
full
has been made.
council.
Is there a second? Seconded by the vice chair. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Counselor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you
you,
so much.
Counselor.
I seem to have lost somewhere in my little mess here. Can I see your agenda? Thank you. The last item is item 394-24, authorization to expend funds in the amount of $286,000 from the MVPC EPA revolving loan fund. This is to demolish the Florence Street Garage, which is a city-owned property. It was put on the agenda by land use planner Dan McCarthy. However, he is unavailable tonight, so we have our project officer, Kenny Lamarche?
Yes, correct.
Mr. Lamarche, you have the floor.
Hello, hello. Hello, counselors. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I think, is this the first time this year? This is the first time you've been before us, right?
By myself, yes.
Yeah, all right,
Yes.
well, welcome.
Go easy on me.
We'll try.
No,
Thank
we just
you.
want authorization to spend the $286,000 that MEPC has granted us from EPA revolving loan for the Florence Street demolition. And I have given you a few copies of some supported documents, one of them being the bid for the demolition company that we used, which shows, it does have a typo, but it shows that JDC is the least amount. To let you know who we're gonna go with, we do also have the loan and sub-grant agreement that is already signed and ready to go.
Sorry, I'm trying to picture this garage and I can't at the moment, so I'm using Google Maps
Unfortunately, yeah, so,
to see if I can get a
I don't have any, images.
I think, is it this
It
right
is a-
here with the red?
Correct,
Let me
this
see.
is a abandoned
Is
building.
this your area?
I've sent an email, I had a constituent, concerned about that building, and I was advised that it was
Yes.
in the process of demolition.
Okay. So, Mr. Lamarche, what are we, so we're demolishing it, what's going to happen in that area? It's still city-owned property, I'm
It is
assuming?
city-owned property, yes.
So what is the city planning on doing with that area after we get rid of the
So I
building?
cannot speak on that. We still haven't decided what to do with it, but the first step, of course, is to.
Oh, we have the senior
Oh, we might have
advisor,
some information.
Octavian Spanner. He's like, I'm here for the rescue, look at that smile. Advisor, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening, Vice Chair Infante and city councilors. The purpose is to demolish this long-standing building that has been, well, it's contaminated for many years. It has a cross on it. Just to give you more or less an idea, is before, if you're going from Lawrence towards Methuen, before Tanara's Tire Shop, there's a laundromat, and there's an alleyway, and you go in the back,
Yeah.
and it's right behind it.
Yeah.
The purpose is that there's this building is also connected, abutting other city properties that next door. The intent is to subdivide the property and for other industrial industrial activity that falls under commercial uses and I-2. It's I-2 zoning. So all activities that falls under that would become eligible.
Okay. And there isn't, but it will still remain city property?
Yes, correct, but eventually that would be to dispose it.
Okay.
And so generate income. Being a city property is not generating any tax revenue for the city.
Well, have you proposed, have you thought of, not proposed? I'm just looking at the area on Google Maps, it's residential,
And this property is also amongst other properties within the city that we're trying to get funding and grant funding to remediate,
okay.
because there are, well, what considered to be also brownfields. This is also within the list.
Okay. Councilors, any questions or comments?
Hold on. I have a question.
Councilor Marmu?
I'm just trying to see if it's in any of the documents that is provided. So it's $208,000 bid just to demolish.
Yes, because it contains, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why it has an X on it, hazardous material could be asbestos.
Okay.
So it's not only the demo, but also the cleanup associated with the contamination.
Is there any specific dates to which they're expected to, like, if this was to be approved? Any expected dates to start demolishing, and how long does it take to complete that project?
As soon as possible. I mean, we have the contract already drafted, so if this gets approved and we get the funding, send the contract over to get signed. I don't have a timeline. We can have that once the contract is signed, once they look far enough. So unfortunately, I won't have that information for you, but as soon as possible to get this demolished and cleaned.
I'm seeing here, there was a correction on the contract, the first day of
Yes.
August, but the year is 2023, we're in 2024.
Yes, so from my understanding, we've had this loan and grant. We didn't get we're just now starting the process of demolishing.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
We've had the loan agreement already signed and everything. correct, ready, but we weren't ready to demolish until now, which is why we're going through the right steps.
So now you're looking to actually use the
Correct.
loan?
Correct,
Okay.
and grant, yeah.
For clarification, usually when you have a remediation project, it also requires a remediation plan. So that, you know, it's not as if you're going to the site and demolish or remediate, but there's certain requirements by the state for the cleanup and procedures that needs to be followed.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none?
No,
Yeah,
I have a question.
Counselor Luzon. Your mic.
I'm confused, not concerned. So you got the loan, the approval of the loan, when? I know
The
you
first-
already
the 1st
asked
of
the
August,
question.
2023.
And you sent for, the bids went out when?
The bids went out, so the submission date was of this year, July 10th. So, like Octavian said, we had to go through some processes, have a plan before we went out to bid and start the demolition.
And the city doesn't have any plan yet for the space?
Octavian stated that they were gonna subdivide.
So the buy, and
Plan.
Yeah, the counselor, the intent is to demolish first, and then obviously for us to sell the property, dispose of the property, so it can be, you know, generating revenue for the city. Any other specific plans, I don't have any information in regards to that, because that hasn't been discussed. But in this case, it's not here or there, because the property, we're getting an opportunity to clean it up. A contaminated site, even though if it's, you know, enclosed building, anything can happen. Fire next door, anything can cause further contamination of the site. So right now, what we're looking at is cleaning a site that's contaminated.
is the site contaminated or just with garbage? There's two different things.
No,
It's
it's
both.
contaminated. The building has a cross that has been identified in previous years. It's been standing there for, I don't know how many years.
So I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna correct you and say both, because
No, they cannot be
well, there is trash. The picture that I'm seeing in Google Maps right now, there's trash everywhere on the perimeter, but perhaps inside, there's contaminations, or maybe even outside, I don't know, but I'm gonna say it's both from what I'm seeing
Yes.
by the signage and then what I'm seeing on Google Maps. Well, but for the garbage that you,
Yeah, but it could be two different, Madam Chair, with your permission, it could be two different things. Having a garbage in a property doesn't mean that it's
oh,
contaminated.
yeah, yep.
That's what I
Yep,
was trying
100%. Yep.
to explain.
Yep.
Okay. And do we know who are the owners?
The city.
No, not the owner of the property, the owners next to the property.
So the city owns 2 lots adjacent to the property, and Oneida owns the one on the left side. If you're
Oneida who?
Forgot her last name.
Oh, you know her first name, you don't know her last name.
Yes.
Madam Chair, it's irrelevant, the abutting property.
And it's not irrelevant, Madam
It's-
Chair.
It's the other property on the other side that we don't know who the owner
They know who the
specifically is.
owner is.
So
Excuse me,
who-
Octavian, senior advisor. He already gave us the name. It's not irrelevant. Once, let me make my point. In fact, it's just a question and I wanted an answer because he knows who the owner is. He mentioned Oneida. I asked for her last name. Nothing wrong with that. The people that are watching would like to know. You know who the owner is.
I
Do you
of her, I
know
don't
the
her
last name,
personally.
Counselor?
He knows the owner.
Doesn't know personally.
He knows the
I
owner.
mean, Madam Chair, this is irrelevant in regards to the property because one property you may have the name, but the other abutting property owner, we don't know. There's one to the right if you get in through the
All
alley.
right.
I think there's 1 or 2 different, I think there's and you can look at the.
I'm looking as you're explaining this to
Yeah,
me,
there's,
yep.
I believe there's is a multifamily that is abutting to your left, which is, so to the left of this building that is going to be demolished and cleaned up, is a other city property, right?
This is the parking lot?
Yes.
Madam
And
Chair.
then next to the, if I may clarify, then next to the city lot, there's a garage, and there's a auto body shop,
I believe so.
and there's a multifamily structure.
Council Luzon.
Okay, here's my concern. So the city is investing the money in demolishing a property, and they don't have a plan yet to what they're gonna do there. That's my concern. My other concern is that by now, you should know who the owners, not the city, the other owner is. So, yes, that's one. Because once they do that, they have to sell, Madam Chair, they have to sell to that person first, by law. So,
So
this is my concern.
Counselor, I have a question for you. All
I'm
right,
sorry, Madam Chair.
Counselor,
I feel like we're deviating from what the item is before us. The item before us is regarding demolishing a property, not selling it. It's still a contaminated property, and I feel like regardless of who are the surrounding owners, the city needs to respond to that contaminated property. It is our duty to do something about it and to look for a solution.
Madam Chair,
I'm not done, Councilor Luzon. I do have a question, if I may proceed though. What is the normal process from the city's end when a property has been identified to be contaminated to address that issue? So if something is hazardous and it's contaminated, is there a time frame that the city needs to address it and have that property demolished? And the reason why I'm asking is because the contract is from 2023, and then, we're finally seeing that something's gonna be, hopefully something's gonna be done now. But I wanna know typically, what is the normal process when a property has been identified as contaminated, and what is the time frame that it needs to be addressed?
Okay, it is the response, and the most candid response is contingent upon funding. There's a list of properties that we, like the $2 million that we received, it depends on the $1 million that we recently received as well. It's going to be used as a cleanup for, I think, other properties. So once we receive the funds, we have an obligation, first of all, to present it before City Council to accept the grant funding, and then for us, like in this case, to go through a procurement process and to bid for, let's say, an engineer or a contractor to whether demolish, and if there's contaminant that needs to be cleaned. And that should be done expeditiously because it is contingent upon the time frame that is given by the agency that provides the funding. So usually there's a time frame bond to the funding. So you receive a fund is not forever. The funds you need to expend the funds within a year or two, like you have seen tonight. And then within that time frame, the city needs to identify the properties and say, when it's going to start and when we're going to do the bidding for the cleanup.
So if there is no funding, then the property stays contaminated?
Well, that's the reason why we are pursuing funding to clean up. Because the city, let's say the city may have, let's say the cost would be $500,000 to clean up a property. Tumbarello site and the paper mill projects are good examples. So the city may expend funds, but it's too much of an expense for us to complete the entire cleanup. And this is where we go for federal EPA funds or whatever funds are available. In this case, it's with the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission revolving loan.
Madam Chair,
For you. Counselor Luzon.
I'm going to ask, well, just going to put it this way. When the senior advisor refers to the property as contaminated, I would like to get more specific. Comparing this site to Tombarello, you're telling me that you're going to need thousands and thousands of federal money to clean that. So I would like to know what type of contamination, besides the regular garbage that we have in other properties in the city, we have there. That's one.
I believe that-
And I'm speaking, senior advisor, and I would like to know who the owners that are surrounding the property besides the city. And you understand why I'm asking that. That's the two,
So-
I need information on that.
So the.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The contamination, what is it? What is it? You guys should have a record of this.
It must be within the scope of services. I don't know if this was provided.
I
Of
don't
the
have that
contract.
information yet.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
So you don't have a record of why this building is considered contaminated?
I don't have the documents that state exactly what contaminants they have. They were tested and they fall under the
But you
threshold,
do, but you do
I-
have that documentation?
Not on me.
Not on you, but you do.
There is, yes, there is, I can definitely search for that.
Madam Chair.
Counselor Luzon.
So how do you send a bid, something this out for bid without a specific? Because it's a different amount of money that these companies will require to clean a contaminated site.
There,
Because we don't know by now, because you don't have information in front of you, so I'm assuming you guys are not very familiar with the type of contamination that we have in that area. It's just garbage, or it's other type of contamination? So there's two different things here.
in response to that, Madam Luzon, unfortunately.
Madam Chair. She's the
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. We came tonight because Mr. Dan McCarthy is on vacation. I can confirm this is a contaminated site. It does not only demolition, but it also has most probably hazardous material because it has a cross unidentified. Within the scope of service, there must be literature that identifies the scope of service for the contractor to perform the work. If it's not here, we can provide it to you if this is sent to the city council on Tuesday. We can provide you with the information, but it
Madam
must
Chair.
be there.
Madam Chair, because we don't have the information requested, I suggest we table this item until they come with the information we need, that I need to vote. So I'm making a motion to table this item.
Madam Chair, can I identify you have this contract, was this provided
Yes,
with them?
yes.
You can have this contract, which it has the recitals,
Which one is, can I,
which
The
says,
Yeah.
zoning
So-
subgrant agreement contract, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, says on top.
yes, and it specifically says here, whereas the property on which the remediation work will be performed is not listed or proposed for listing on the national priorities on the U.S. Protection Act, so it hasn't been identified with remediation. Remediation is a word that is used when you have a property that is under contamination, has hazardous material. I can be more clear than that. It's within this recital and also the agreement.
okay. Counselors, I don't think this should be tabled either way. I do want the document of the test result included for next week. I think we should send this up as a committee report, and take it from there until we see what the actual contaminants are. So that is we do have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded. No discussion on tabled matters. Roll call. Counselor Luzon.
To table, yes.
Counselor Marmal.
What's the motion?
To table.
Motion to table this item.
Who seconded that motion?
You did just
You
now.
did.
Oh, no.
Will you ready then?
Oh, well, I take back my
Well, you're voting no, and the chair votes no. Motion does not carry. Can I have another motion?
Motion to send item number 39424 as a committee report contingent upon providing the proper documentation to demonstrate the specific contamination of this property. Madam Chair, am I also able to add, are we able to ask if the city has done their due diligence in because I do agree with Councilor Luzon that the neighboring property owners, they should potentially be notified. Is that something that should be considered, or
You can add that, so,
is that something
I
that I
mean,
can?
you can add it,
can add
that's
it.
part of the
Yeah.
process. Whenever
So-
there's a demolition,
Yeah.
we have to let the abutting property owners know.
yeah.
And because it's residential as well in the alley.
We
So,
can
yes.
also, as whatever the final vote is, we can add that to the final vote to the full council.
Okay. So I'll just reiterate the motion. Motion to send item number 39424 as a committee report contingent upon proper documentation demonstrating specifics regarding the contamination of this property, in addition to requesting that the city is providing some sort of communication to the neighboring property owners regarding the demolition of this property.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, wait, no, I made a motion.
So I will second, as the city attorney did inform us that the chair is able to second. So I second that motion. I'm going to do a roll call for this. Counselor Marmal.
Yes.
Counselor Luzon.
No.
And the chair votes the chair votes yes. Motion carries. So thank you. Make sure that you guys have that for next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Counselor, at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Oh, I'd like to-
Properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the ayes have it.